Live from Pahrump. It is 7:05, which means it's time for Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. This is where myself, Jimmy Lewis, Logan, and Taco Mike talk about dirt bike and dirt bike related questions. We pretend like we're experts and we answer your questions in the forum, the questions you submitted from last week's show, and the questions that we farmed from other sources while we're doing this. So with that, I'd like to say hi to all of our favorite fans. Victor's here. He's actually hosting a watch party. So if you're on Victor's watch party, thanks for joining in. Victor, I see your gear. It's still sitting here on the floor, but since I was the janitor today, I couldn't work in the shipping department. So that'll come pretty soon. How's it going, guys? Good?
Yeah. Rocking, dude.
Logan's kind of talkative tonight, which he proved a few minutes ago. Mike just got back from Salt Lake City where he was on tour. You're looking for products to sell.
Well, I was just up there talking to the Warp 9 guys and seeing what they've got going. They've got some cool stuff cooking, so I wanted to check that out. Hung out with Kyle Brotherson, the other bald guy on the internet, the Dirt Bike Channel dude.
Right. Does he have a motorcycle anymore?
Yeah, he's got a couple of them. So two or three had a Beta, and then 300. And then he had just cycled through, I don't know, I think he said he got rid of like 6 bikes. So
he auctioned them off?
He's got this cool thing where he gave 2 away in December.
Uh-huh.
And then I think he's got some cooking to do another raffle, giveaway this year as well.
I want to learn how that works. No, I don't.
It's an interesting model, and it's working well.
It's definitely a business model. You crossed out what I was going to talk about, like how I'm not going to be a YouTube channel.
Oh, this looked like one of those come on things. So
you thought that was a question? No, that's my what do you call that when you do show prep? That's my lead or my intro.
Okay, that's your lead in question.
No, it's something I was going to talk about, and you crossed it out, so I have to remember what I was going to say.
I figured it was one of those junk email things that got snuck in.
No, that'll come, I'm sure. So I just wanted to say, no, because the last couple of weeks I've been sending out our for dirt bike tests and for Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, kind of our deck, our sponsorship / partner / advertising proposal.
Okay.
And I was never an ad guy, never wanted to be an ad guy, and unfortunately now I'm kind of playing that role.
Thrust into that role.
Well, because I don't like being the janitor, and so I thought maybe I'll try being an ad guy. And so with the help of some friends, they put together a really cool deck that I've been kind of sending out, and it's amazing how much response you don't get on that stuff. And I know this from some of my ad guys. These guys they're just badgers. I mean, they're just constantly coming back at you, and I think that's what you need to be. And people are like, why don't you just, that's what I said, why don't you just be a YouTube channel? And it's like, man, I see guys with 2 million plus subscribers on YouTube that produce really good content. I mean, the reason I'm subscribed to them is I follow them, and then you see them disappear for 6-8 months. They just drop off.
Okay.
And I did a little research on it. Just do that stuff. The guys, the creators. Yeah, the creators. They're not making the kind of money that they should with that level of following. You think about it. Fill a 2 million person stadium. First of all, it doesn't exist. But you're a guy that does comedy.
2 million. That's Vegas. That's 80% of Vegas population, right?
Yeah. So you've got all these people following you, and then you're lacing your content with some ads on YouTube, and we're speaking kind of to YouTube specifically here. You're lacing your YouTube specifically. Well, a lot of those followers, are they real or are they not real? How engaged is that audience in what you're doing? I mean, I don't think anybody watches this or listens to this and thinks, hey, I'm just kind of listening to it because it's cool. You want to learn something about dirt bikes, and here we are talking about YouTube channels. I'm talking about right now. What I'm talking about is why this may not be here, in a few weeks. It's that simple. It's I kind of enjoy doing it, so it may be here, but trust me, then it'll just be Jimmy ranting about anything, not necessarily trying to, give.
So views will go up.
Probably, but then it's useless. Then it becomes useless to people in our industry, because I'm kind of allegedly an expert at our
You're a resource. You're a legend and a resource.
Content subject matter, I guess. So you think about it, and these guys have, if you have 2 million subscribers, it's like, okay, well, what if they just went to Patreon and asked for $1, which is nothing? They don't get it. You know, I used to be the editor of a magazine that had, you know, at times south of 150,000 subscribers. And, you know, the subscription for Dirt Rider was less. It was probably less than $1 an issue. I think that's what they used to advertise it at. And we didn't have too many fake subscriptions, unlike some of the other magazines that, like, literally you would go into the gate at the motocross track and they'd give it to you, or they'd be passing them out at the Supercross.
And they would count that as a subscription.
Yeah, and
stats.
And they would sell them for $4, and then, you know, which costs them to send it to you at that point. But you think about how that works. There's no way at $1 a magazine that you're paying, you know, my salary or the other editors. And trust me, we worked for cheap, plus the expenses and the cost of all that stuff. It just didn't work out. It took the advertisers, it took the industry that was behind that to prop that up, especially to pay for the guy that was upstairs that you usually told me I didn't know what I was doing. He had the big office. He had a couch in his office and his own bathroom and all that stuff. And he was always the guy that told me what I was doing wrong. And then after I did what he told me to, then we'd lose a bunch of subscribers and get a lot of angry emails. So, anyways, so I just wanted to say, in this form, there's nothing stopping you from sending me money right now. I'm not going to go beg for it on Patreon or start it up or whatever those other things are. But if you really like this, you could always just send me money, I thought. Like, why not, right? I'm trying to get advertisers, and you have to beg them. But that's different because you're asking for a different quantity. So anyways, Gabe, we doing okay over there? Technical difficulties? Yeah. Something froze up? Beginner mistake.
Oh.
Mike, you're rubbing off in here.
No, he's laying down cover for me.
Walking in front of the lights is kind of a beginner
I'm going to hide behind
mistake.
his screw up.
You duck at him, but if you're watching this, that's your fault. Okay, so enough of that. Let's see. Hey, on Dirt Bike Test, we have a website that you may or may not be familiar with, where we can answer probably 7 out of the 10 questions you ask us are contained someplace on that website. It searches really good on Google, and if you're on the website, there's a little box up there that says search, and you just type in whatever you're interested in, and something may or may not come up. More than likely it will. But we have some new stuff. Alt-Rider Africa Twin crash bars finally got posted. Steve Conklin, who's in this chat room often, did a really nice test on those. There's a test on the IMS oversized gas tank for the KTMs that Trevor did, and the 2000 and is it a 19 or 20? I don't know. RMZ 450 updates. I know everybody complains about that bike, and it always gets last in the shootout. But if you want to see what we have done to it and what we're going to be doing to it, go check that out. Scott Hoffman, in between having to be a construction project manager because Dirt Bike Test doesn't pay him anything, managed to go out and spend some time on the Suzuki and has some good information on it. Because, I mean, you can get one of those things now for
cheap,
$6,000.
Cheap. Dealers are probably trying to push out the 19s. I bet they still have some on the floor.
Yeah, and you think about it, it's like, hey, you have to kickstart it, and we can complain about it all day when we're talking about the utmost performance level. But it's like, hey, I'm struggling, can't afford this or that, and you can get a really good bike at a really good price, and the dealers are happy to work with you on that stuff. So, and then that's what we're doing. We're actually trying to see, hey, where can we take this bike? How can we modify it? And we're being kind of cost conscious about it as well. So
that's a great project.
Yeah.
Are you going to recommend that as like an entry level bike, like a beginner bike?
No. It's a full on motocross bike.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different than the other ones that are out there because some of the characteristics, and they're Suzuki characteristics that have been around for a while. It's got a stiff chassis. It turns incredible. Like if the track is smooth, those bikes are like a dream. And when it starts getting rough, then we can start picking on the suspension. It doesn't work as good as some of the others, but as I do this more and more, I'm becoming more aware that most people just don't know because they don't know what they don't know. And they listen to us because we'll tell them this bike isn't that good, but it may be the best thing they've ever ridden. It may be night and day above. I actually saw a post on one of the SoCal dual sport or adventure rider forums where a guy bought an RMZ 250. He replaced his I think it was KTM 640 if I remember correctly with an RMZ 250.
Interesting choice.
He was raving about how good this bike was
Compared to it.
yeah, he was absolutely comparing it to it, but it was like he's like, well, I won't be able to ride in the street more, but this bike is awesome. And it's like, yeah, but that guy just in the grand scheme of things didn't know. I mean, did he buy the KTM 640 because he wanted a bike to go riding on the track or in the desert with? Because that's probably the wrong bike. If he was like wanting to ride from wherever he lived up to the desert and go riding, then his choices get smaller. But once you're out there, he's suffering the whole time for the fact that he wanted to ride.
He should have been
there.
that 250 all along.
Yeah, maybe he owns a truck and now now he knows. So okay, where are we at here? Logan, you want to hit a question there? How about that first one about the last show?
The Christopher Moritz.
Yep.
I really like you guys. George and Logan are cool.
See, look at that.
Plug.
Yeah.
Nice.
I beg to differ on the riding school. I might look stupid practicing the riding drills you taught. I don't care. I really, really work.
He says they really work.
Oh. The braking drills are a lifesaver. Learning to squeeze instead of grab, decreasing, stopping distance. And yes, I took your comment to heart when you saw me do a lap and said how horrible it was. You see a lot of guys and gals come through, so I listened.
Oh, thanks, Christopher. I didn't know I put that in there. That sounds like a plug for my riding schools.
Shameless.
No, I don't think I read that before I clipped it in there. But I think, didn't he ask another question later on? Oh yeah, he asks one about. No, that's from last week's show. I don't know. Hey, Christopher. Yeah, thanks a lot. No, I wasn't being mean. That's just. I want you to learn when you come out here, and so sometimes maybe my delivery isn't the nicest. You know, when I see somebody doing something that's wrong, but it's honest, and I mean, it's probably not the best marketing technique. to be like that, but at the end of the day, if it ends up working and you become a better rider and something like that helps, then awesome. I'm glad. I wish that's why you should have Heather talk to you, not me. So or maybe Gabe. Gabe's pretty nice, right? Gabe's kind of harsh. I told Gabe to pay attention to one of my other coaches and quit trying to copy me. So okay. George is out there. George, you're going to cover the questions that are popping up in the thing. Takamoto, Asada or Al Pastor?
El Pastor.
El Pastor. Okay. Let's see. Todd Kelly says, hello from the cold tundra of Illinois, vicariously living through you desert people who get to ride dirt bikes all winter. Yeah, by the way, perfect riding temperatures today. Yeah.
It's good out there.
Yeah. Let's see. Jimmy's hard to listen to, but sometimes he has good guests who know what they're talking about.
Not tonight.
Oh, well, yeah, I try to keep the bar kind of level around here. And I know Logan doesn't say much, so I'm not too intimidated. But Mike, every once in a while goes off. You know, Mike was beating up on Gabe because he didn't put his logo up on the thing, and it's up there now. Yeah. Super awesome.
Bring
so
it.
Good job.
Thanks, Gabe.
Next question. What's that one? This is probably Adam Dement. What does Adam say?
Love the cop guy. Does he/you carry while you ride?
He's talking about George.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
does he carry while he rides? I don't know. George is in the chat room. I'm not sure. I never noticed him carrying. I mean, when you ride with me.
Carry.
Yeah.
Carry again. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an open carry state.
Yeah.
Yeah. How and what if so? There's bears out here.
Where's Adam from, I wonder? Bears?
Bear country.
Bear country. Yeah. Yeah, George will probably answer that question. I haven't seen him carrying, but then that's why they call it concealed carry, which is good too.
On Also, just picked up a 19 XCW 250. It was 8K, 8 grand new. The interwebs tell me I need custom suspension. I'm 6'2" and about 200 pounds, and ride a mix of Washington Mountain, single, desert, and the occasional track day. I do these things poorly. Do I need a respring valve, or can I make it work stock?
Okay, Mike, your answer?
Ride it stock, see what you think, see how it feels, see if you feel safe, confident at the end of a ride, if you are fatigued and blown out. If you're white knuckling it and the bike doesn't feel right for you, then I think your spring rate, because you're 6'2", so your center of gravity is pretty
And
high.
200 pounds.
200 pounds. Well, the stock springs are 165 to 185 on that bike, so you're overweighting it by, not a huge factor, but you're overweighting it. So I think at a minimum, respring it. If you want to get into the money and do the valving, that's sort of optional. But
Adam, aren't you so glad I bring experts in here that just regurgitate what I was going to say?
I think you respring it and you see what you like, and then do the valving after.
I totally agree with Mike here. I mean, go ride it a couple times. Actually, especially when it's brand new, ride it a few times, break the suspension in, and then if you feel something, and generally the 250Fs are like Mike said, sprung for a lighter weight rider. So if it's not bothering you, because sometimes that softness and is plushness, and if you're not bottoming it out and stuff, maybe it's pretty good. Let it rip. If all of a sudden you say, hey, I need to do something, the easiest thing is just throw some springs on it. And my kind of rule of thumb is, if you're going to go up more than 2 rates on a spring, front or rear, you're probably going to have some valving done to bring the clickers back into normality, mostly on the rebound side, because the heavier springs push harder on the shock in the rebound state, and you have to adjust it. Sometimes you can get away with just clickers. If you can't, then trust a suspension expert to do that. Also, when you start getting up around 6'2", 6'3", you're more of a pendulum, you can your weight can throw that bike around a little bit more. So I don't know if it's interwebs or whatever it tells you, but do what you think you should do. I think that'd be the best thing.
I have a sort of a secondary suspension question. So I get asked all the time, where should I send my suspension? There's guys online who do a lot of advertising, and there's some national guys you can ship your suspension off to, and they'll redo them. I personally tell guys, find somebody local, ask the guys in the local race club and the local ride groups who you use, who's the good local tuner. Go to that guy, give a local guy the business. But also, if you need to go and have that thing readjusted, changed, you've got a local guy in your town that you can go and hit up, and then he'll be probably willing to work with you and maybe even go out on a track day or a ride day with you and see how you ride it and watch you, and then make adjustments. If you ship it off to somebody, you're not going to have that availability. So those are typically my comments. What's your thinking on that?
I'm kind of similar, and I've had the opportunity to work with lots of suspension tuners. Some of them I gel with, and other ones I don't. So it's almost like dating. I get it. You're literally you got to take some chances with some of it, but you kind of know what you like. So a lot of times getting feedback from your buddies, but it's kind of like anytime that people kind of jump on a bandwagon, and they're it kind of as the snowball picks up momentum and it grows, that's kind of what I see happening a lot of times with suspension tuning. And these suspension tuners are promoting what they have and doing different things, and there's ones that definitely want to oversell you, like they've got some special doohickey that they throw in there, and there's some valving secret that only they know. Well, I guarantee you, all the guys that are good know all that
and
stuff.
Doing similar stuff.
It's not really rocket science, but if you're sending it to somebody and they just go, give me your height, weight, and your ability level,
you fill out a form, and it's about 3 questions.
Yeah, and what you ride, and they may have a direction that they see if they see enough of that particular kind of suspension. A lot of times, having a guy that's local, knows where you ride, knows what kind of bikes you're on, that does help. But it's kind of, I think it's more like, you just got to get a good feeling from the person you're working with. And if they offer, revalves done for free, that's probably, and that used to be a big thing back in the day. If you had your suspension valved by somebody, if you didn't like it, they would revalve it for free. And that's a giant pain in the ass on their part. Always look at the asterisk though that you're going to pay for everything they do.
Shop tools and then all
which
the parts.
generally means they're going to pop new seals into it when it doesn't need to be done and stuff like that. But I think you just find a good honest guy. Having it, shipping suspension is kind of a pain in the butt. But I don't think there's any really one, magic, this is the only way to do it or magic guy. But yeah, just, support, and if it works for you, then great. And tell a friend, that's how these guys probably do more of their business. So a lot of the stuff I see, kind of like this show on the internet, you're just trying to promote something all the time and you're kind of spinning into a spiral. And, yeah. Did that answer the question? Kind of?
I think so.
Kind of? Okay. Let's see. No, we got to go to the next page, don't we? Oh, you got another question there? Oh, we didn't finish that question.
No, we didn't.
Oh, we skipped that one. Oh, Pyramid Pigard 26?
Yeah. Orleans, Race Tech, and Congent Dynamics all have both front and rear suspension options for the 250 Rally and L for that matter. Springs and valves for the OE fork and complete shocks.
I got those. So this is a guy who replied to our CRF 250L discussion last week when we were talking about that bike having putt-putty suspension, good for what it's designed for. And so he's basically saying Öhlins, Racetech, and Cogent Dynamics, they have front and rear suspension options for that bike, for that and the standard one, because they're kind of the same. So Racetech makes a complete shock, and they have lots of tuning options. He says it'll take this bike for a much wider range of uses. I literally pick it up on Thursday night, ride it to work on Friday, ride camp all weekend, ride to work on Monday. If you're ever up in Reno, you can always be welcome to take my DD, which is Dakar daily bike for RIP in the northern Nevada deserts. He says, bring Gabe. You want to go riding with this guy? You guys can have a CRF 250L rally fest.
Gabe says he's all over it.
Yeah, but that guy's got trick suspension, so you're gonna be hating it when you guys hit the bumps. He's gonna be pulling away. So, hey, thanks for that. That's awesome. I hadn't done a whole lot of research on that bike. I actually have a Racetech complete shock on my BMW GS 1200, and I was really impressed with it. It was a big upgrade over stock, and for a company that kind of cut their roots in motocross, and they make some pretty good products, good stuff. So awesome. Liberty Tree says
George needs to be a regular.
Oh, shut up.
George is good.
Yeah, his ego just went through the roof. I heard he has 9 followers on
Props
Instagram
to George.
now.
I'm gonna give some hearts here to George.
I haven't got down to where George is doing the comments.
Can you see them? Do they show?
Let's see. So, yeah. Yeah, that's going to wreck his ego, and we're in trouble. I have to see him tomorrow night. I'm going to a victory party for Ricky Brabeck and Casey Curry down in San Clemente tomorrow evening at the Desert Assassins headquarters, where I have to hang out with this guy named Cameron Steele.
Steele.
You probably heard him. He's an announcer, but I know him as this fat kid that used to jump BMX bikes with me down at Sheep Hills when he was a boogie boarder. He's a professional boogie boarder. So just when you start thinking about Cameron and you listen to him talk, just think boogie boarding, because that's kind of cool, right? Maybe not. I grew up surfing. Sorry.
I have a great story about Cameron Steele. I was with some guys, and we were up in I don't know where we were, somewhere. We were in Baja, and we were south of, where the hell was that? That was, it'll come to me later. Anyway, we had a guy who had a flat tire. So we were pulling this rim, pulling the tire, changing the tube. 3 or 4 guys come up, and it's Cameron Steele, who we didn't know at the time, wearing his cool, I love, now that I know to look for him, I see him sometimes, and he's always got those cool, like neon green riding gear. So this guy in bright green gear comes up, and he's got 3 guys with him, and so they take their helmets off, and I don't quite recognize who it is. And so we're still kind of head down, changing the tire, and he comes over to us, and he puts his hand out, and it's Cameron, and he says, "Hey, I'm Cameron Steele, welcome to Baja." And he introduces himself to all 5 of us as if and I was totally impressed. Like, this guy's the mayor of Baja, and he's welcoming us to his village, to the country of Baja, to Mexico, to this beautiful place. And he was so gracious, and he wanted to check in and see if we needed anything. And he was just a great ambassador to Mexico and to Baja, and I know that he's really invested and put a lot of time and effort and money into Mexico and racing and supporting the local people. And he was with a guy there from Iceland, so if he's watching, he'll remember this. He won't remember me, but he'll remember this moment, because he had just been to Iceland not that long ago, and this guy who was with him from Iceland had taken him around on some riding in Iceland, and now he's sort of returning the favor and taking him on a Baja trip.
They did. So I know Johnny Campbell went over to Iceland.
Do you know about that specific trip I'm talking about?
They did a tour, yeah. And Cameron does they do the Rip to Cabo.
Yeah.
So it's a charity. They raise money for charity. They make TV shows out of it, and it's pretty cool. I mean, Cameron grew up in a desert racing family. His dad was a Baja racer and stuff, so he's he's just dirt people. And when I say dirt people, I say that affectionately.
Yeah. Because
I live in Valley of the Dirt People, and people think I'm slamming on Pahrump, and I'm like, no, I live here because of that. It's like I get dirty every day. But yeah, Cameron. I've been talking to him a little bit lately about this party thing he's hosting, and then also, I believe that he is going to try to compete in every class at the King of the Hammers this year. He's going to do UTV, stock class, trophy truck, Ultra 4, and then ride the motos also.
And moto as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, he's done the motos before. Actually, one year he did really well, and the second year he was doing pretty good, but it beat the pulp out of him, and that's back when I was a race director. And I saw him quitting, and I'm like, Cameron, keep going. Because I knew he wasn't going to make it, but it was like, I just enjoy seeing people suffer.
But on balance, it wasn't that he wasn't going to make it. Everybody wasn't going to make it. Like
no.
You designed this essentially so nobody finishes.
No, it was one of the years where if he was a better rider, he could have finished. But he was definitely he was out of his league, but he was still trying hard. But he was smarter than that. So
tapped out.
So anyways, good. It'll be good to hang out with those guys. Get to see my buddy Johnny Campbell. And, of course, Ricky and Casey Curry. And, and then I'm going to go out to the Hammers for some stupid reason to maybe drive my UTV through rocks.
So you'll be out there this year as well?
Allegedly. There's some rumors about that.
Okay.
James Harvey says, I am interested in the Mako 360 handlebar mounts. Any first-hand experience insight? Comparison to the flex bars. I'm a 50B rider, old injury, hand strength issues. Thanks in advance. Okay, James, I have to be clear about this. A couple things. I get support from Flex Handlebars. They've helped me out since day one in their company history. But I also did some development on the Mako 360 bars a few years back. And I was pretty impressed with the design and the way that they work. They're both a little bit different. And I say that I prefer the flex bars, but you know how you usually prefer something you're used to, you're comfortable with. And the Mako, in the beginning, they were playing with elastomers and a lot of different things. Actually, I started out doing stuff with them on their foot pegs. They were really pushing the foot pegs. And then I think, like everybody realized, the handlebars are where a lot more of those kind of bad forces are coming into your body, especially for an old guy like us. So, they move. Since the bar is kind of like unified, they tend to, it tends to, I don't know how to put it. It's like if one part moves, they both move. Where on the flex bars, they're a little bit more independent. Not to say that that's better or worse. I think it's just different. And I think the Mako actually isolates vibration better.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Than the flex bar. But I don't feel as connected to the bike as I do on the Mako versus the flex. Man, it would be, I mean, that's one of these things where I have the experience to be able to try to explain those two different things. The tuning on them is, because they come with different elastomers, both of them. They're both pretty adjustable, but I think either of those, whichever one you would end up riding with, you would become accustomed to it. You would like it, and you would definitely like it better than stock, especially if you have wrist injuries and stuff like that. Don't rule out grips, by the way. Playing around with grips will help a bunch. And
what are ones you like?
Grips?
Yeah.
I have to run a really small diameter grip because I have little tiny hands. So I run mostly the ODI grips, or the
Rouge, OD Rouge.
the ones that are the clamp-ons, like come stock on the KTM's.
Yeah, so those are the small diameter. Do you ever the OD Rouge, which are the larger diameter and it's really soft, and those are like the Adventure Enduro size.
Yeah.
Really comfortable, but they're bigger.
Yeah, so go to bigger diameter. It's funny. I just put a set of Pro Grip foam grips on my KTM 950.
Rallies.
The Rallies. Those
Yeah.
are so.
Those are cush, but big.
When I very first got a factory rally bike, they had them on those, and I'm like, I don't want these stupid lawnmower.
They look goofy.
Lawnmower grips on it. And I had them take them off, and now I feel so bad for doing that because this is one of the first things I did. I rode the bike for 10 minutes and came back to take these damn things off because I wasn't used to it, and then I had to put them back on because they really, really work and the Pro Grip ones are actually pretty small diameter, but they have just enough cushion to eliminate that tingly vibration stuff. But James, I think I don't if you're interested in those Makos, I would say go for them. I think they're good. Anything that's going to isolate the forces up there at the handlebar, and the one thing I always say about the flex handlebars is those handlebars can make bad forks good. If forks were too stiff initially or bottomed out and gave a clank, those dampened bars will kind of fix that. So
on those grips, take a look at the Pro Grip 714s. Those are the ones that they're kind of bulged out in the middle, and they have the dimples, the little holes. You seen those? Those are the 714s.
Yeah. I don't remember all the different ones. It's funny, when I got my rally grips, I opened up this little pamphlet that came with it.
Yeah.
It folded out like this accordion, and it was like 800 grips.
Yeah, Pro Grip they got a lot of support
and 20 different kinds of goggles. And I raced for them in Dakar in '97. They were one of the big sponsors. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
For myself and Daniel Laporte. So I like their goggles back then were by far and away the best goggles.
Interesting.
I know a lot of companies have caught up. They actually learned some of the things that Pro Grip was doing. And next question, Logan. You look like you're getting bored there.
So, we didn't finish Adam.
Uh-oh.
Poor Adam.
Oh, there's a second part?
Yeah.
I knew he wasn't just telling me how awesome I was as a school teacher, right? I knew there had to be something substantive in this question.
Flex bars have been a lifesaver for me too. Very strong. Been using them on my.
You can pull that thing out there. Just there.
Well, on my bikes over 10 years. Have yet to been a set. Good to see you are training yourself.
What? I'm training myself?
Yeah.
You're still in training.
I'm in the worst shape I've ever been in my entire life right now. I promise you. I like the flex bars too. It's funny how that question worked together. There's one more line in there. I saw it because I saw one of my other buddies' name in there.
Oh, Andrew Short is a very sportsman for giving up a wheel.
Yes, he is. He's talking about what Andrew did in the Dakar. Gave his wheel to Toby Price, which if you're an energy drink company that sponsored one of those guys and your other energy drink sponsored the other guy, I imagine that would have been an issue, right? The manufacturer doesn't care because it was just, they're both kind of shooting for the same thing. Okay. Next.
Anonymous says, Jimmy, why don't you test Shercos and Betas? I know they are better than KTM and Huskies, but none of the real media will test them.
There isn't any more real media left. So that's the first thing. And I would test them if I could get my hands on them. I actually reached out to Sherco a couple times. I because it's something I'm going to do in a couple weeks. I thought, hey, it might be kind of a cool time to do a race test on a Sherco. So I wouldn't have to beat George's bike up, but that didn't go anywhere. And I haven't talked to the Beta guy for a little while because we were talking about a 200 a long time ago, and that never materialized. So I can't tell you how they are. currently. I know if you look at dirt bike tests, you can see we've tested them in the past, and we give every bike we test a fair shot. Unlike walking in with some preconceived notion about how something is going to perform based on it being just because it's different. So, a lot of times none of the real media will test them. Because maybe those companies aren't coming in with big advertising packages, and it's like, we don't, but none of the manufacturers are really advertising or doing any kind of support anymore. And that's why a lot of these companies, magazines are disappearing. Back to my original thought tonight was, I know where they're spending all their money. They're all trying to get this, like these new, they want entry-level new people coming in the market, and they're like, and Facebook and advertising with Google and Instagram stuff, Insta followers. It's working so good, and so what they're doing is essentially spending money outside of our industry. So our little industry, you start giving it to the big Facebooks and the big Googles of the world. That's why a lot of these companies don't go to some big New York advertising agency because they can't afford it, and they're not going to talk to the right audience. But all of a sudden, it's like now that's who they think they need to talk to, and they'll talk to a lot of people, and they'll show you how good they do, and then all of a sudden, your experts or your what we call enthusiast media vaporizes, and then it's hard to find out who's next. So,
Jimmy Lewis on this show is what's next.
I hope so. So I'd like to test those bikes. If you would like to know how your Beta or your Sherco works, and you want someone to review it so you can feel better about your purchase, talk to your Sherco or Beta distributor and let them know that they can, actually the old Sherco guy, when Clay Stuckey had it before Ryan Young has it now, Clay used to invite me out to down south someplace to go ride them all the time. And it just like anything, it's like I didn't exactly have the time or the budget to fly my ass out there to go, ride a national enduro to try them. So we're all small here. It's tough.
How about this? If you're a Southern Nevada, Southern California, maybe Northern Arizona, Southern Utah guy, and you have a Sherco or a Beta, and you'd like to have Jimmy Lewis ride it, review it, test it, connect up with him, send him an email or message on the Facebook comments.
As long as it's stock.
Yeah.
As long as it's stock. If you've jacked with it, you've already jacked with it,
because
I don't want to ride something that's been modified. You can get a feel for it, but at that point, it's not the way it was delivered. And then I'm not talking to everybody that's buying them. I'm just talking to you, how you did your particular bike. So I only have to ride it for like 100 hours. It's really not. It's really not that much. So. I still never showed him the video of me warming your bike up when it was brand new, right, Bob? Yeah.
What's that, on the rev limiter?
I'll show you sometime.
All right.
It was good. Todd Kelly says, but on a real note, the last note wasn't real, my weekly question, the 19 KTM 300 XCW, RK Tech high compression head and recluse. I have the JD tuner to help with the fueling. When you're working on some slower terrain and cut the throttle, it runs on before returning to idle. If I adjust the green richer, it seems to help with the ting, ting, ting and lurching forward, but it takes a lot off the bottom end hit. It seems I'm having to choose either dealing with the hanging throttle or softer bottom. Where's your idle set? Like, is your idle set just a little bit high? So sometimes, if the idle's just a tad high in order to get it to idle nice, and when it's cold especially, it's not allowing that slide to go all the way down. Check your throttle cable, as it sounds like if the tuner is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and it helps with the ting, ting, ting. Rich, I'm running it through my head. Going richer would, because your idle's too high. That's it. Because the reason you're having to add the fuel is because the butterfly valve's a little bit too open, and that's what's causing. See how low you can let your idle go. I personally like my two-stroke to just barely idle. In other words, if I kind of like let it run, it'll try to idle, and after 10 or so seconds, it'll stall.
To die.
It'll try to die. And it's that super delicate. And the reason I have it there is because when you do that, you get that hit. Because when you're going from kind of closed to just opening it, that really helps the throttle response. But if it's open a little bit, the build of power isn't kind of what you want. And a lot of times it kind of surges. To get that hit, instead of going from, let's just use weird numbers here, instead of going from 1 horsepower to 5 horsepower, you're going from 3 horsepower to 8 horsepower. And at the point where you're at 5, it's too much. You need that 3-4 horsepower to get traction, or you want it to surge up to 8 right away, and you're going to get 8 just by how you turn the throttle. When you start out higher, it's a little bit too much. So I don't know if that makes the difference. But, yeah, play with your idle. See if you can run that idle down a little bit. And, hey, Todd, definitely get back to me and let me know how that works, because I'm always curious when I just make something up from a question that I got on.
I would say also check your screen, your spark arrestor, if you have one on that. It sounds like he's just trying to find that balance point between rich and lean at that low throttle angle. And so I agree. Check your idle speed. Check your screen in the back of your muffler. Check your packing.
Well, if it is a screen, yeah.
Yeah. If you do have a screen, check it. Check your packing. Just check that exhaust system. And really, it does sound like he's just trying to balance that point between lean and rich right there in that low circuit. So I think these are all maybe tips you could try out.
George wants to let you know that the Climb Arsenal vest has a holster that will Velcro into either of the front lower compartments.
That's true.
Yeah, we talk about that in the test of that vest on dirt bike test. Not that I'd ever carry. So, here we go. We're getting into tactical weapon talk here on dirt bike
Gun
test.
talk.
Yeah, JM4 tactical magnet holsters, best holster, and I've never had it fall out on the trail. So, I found a clip out in the trail once. I was riding along, and I saw this thing, and I pulled over, and it was a clip up in the mountains. So...
I'll put in a plug for the Troy Lee. I think it's, what is it, the Arsenal? No, the Climb is the Arsenal. The Troy Lee is the...
I've never seen the Troy Lee one.
The vest. It's really good. I use it. And it has 2 really big pockets in
Is
the
it
front.
Ogio or is it Troy Lee?
No, Troy Lee.
Oh, yeah.
What is the name of that? It's orange and black. Really good. I really like it.
Yeah.
And I think they're just continuing it because you can't get the large medium anymore. You can only get them small, and that tells me that I think Troy Lee's phasing them out. But anyway, that one has 2 nice pockets in the front, and you can zipper those. And
if you're small,
it's a good
you're in
place to
business.
put your little pistola.
Yeah. Andrew McDaniel says, should clickers be set in the middle? One local guy started at 0 to give more adjustability as skill progressed. Oh, my God. There's a suspension guy for you. So no matter what, so he started at 0, so that means that would be all the way out, and then you would screw it. So the funny thing is, if your clickers are near the end of their range, just so you know, they kind of start losing their function. They don't there's in from what I understand, and trust me, I'm no suspension expert. I just play one on this podcast. When you start going outside of you get to the end of the clicker range, your valving can't, you've gone outside of that clicker is no longer doing anything. In other words, it's all the way open or all the way closed, and it's outside of the function. There's something inside the valving that should have taken care of that. And so, don't
follow that advice.
If you think that by going, as your skill progresses, you're going to need to going stiffer, you're wildly wrong, because a lot of times a better rider, someone that skill progresses, tends to not hit the bumps the same or at all. So a lot of times a guy that's a better rider will put the bike where he needs traction. So he needs really soft, supple stuff in certain things. And then maybe when they hit something, they have the suspension built in, have more safety. So they might have more progression. That's why you hear about guys changing linkages. Pro riders changing linkages and stuff, because they need something that wasn't designed in for the thing. But if you think that screwing your suspension clickers in is a better option as you progress, I think everybody should go out in their garage right now and add 5 clicks of compression to everything. Then you're faster, and you'll ride faster because of it. Everybody agree? Logan?
I don't have suspension currently, so.
Wait, what? You don't have suspension currently?
Yes.
Where is it?
In California.
Oh, you sent it to the suspension guy?
Yes.
Is he going to put it at 0?
I doubt it.
Okay. So because you are at least you're like 120 pounds maximum, right?
100 flat.
100 flat.
Yes.
I was going to say you should start drinking beer, but that'd be a little inappropriate. So you're getting your suspension on your new KTM softened up, correct?
Yes.
Springs and valving.
Yep.
Yeah, good. Yeah, because you are a little outside the spectrum on that. I'm really bummed, actually, because I wanted to ride your bike while it still had the stock stuff on it. I mean, I'm on the other end of the scale. I'm heavy. So how come you didn't call me to go riding last week? What happened? Did you get in trouble at school?
No.
No. Yep. Chicken?
Little.
I heard your chicken, yeah. We would just gone and rip some sand tracks. It's all good. Okay, what's your next question on the thing?
Oh, triple play, which I think was on the Africa.
That's his name, on the Africa Twin, yep.
Another DCT marketing pitch. Pass.
Another DCT marketing pitch, and he says pass. Triple play. It's funny because triple plays, like a emoji or whatever his thing was a guy flipping you off, like that. And so, yeah, that was a total marketing pitch because we get so much money from Honda to make that pitch towards you. It's really hard for you to believe anything that we say. Now, I remember when we did that video. It's a bike test on the Honda Africa Twin, and the bike we got to test was the DCT. We could have taken a clutch bike a regular bike away from that intro. We had the option, and we wanted to take the DCT because it was newer technology, and it was something that we were interested in trying. And like I say in the video, and like I say every time since then, if you're just out adventure riding and you're not doing something super gnarly or kind of going outside the scope of adventure riding, that DCT is brilliant. It is really, really good. And it's funny because doesn't their UTV have that in it now? I mean, it's a good technology. Honda has kind of a lock on that technology. The problem is it does rob a little bit of power and it adds a little bit of weight, but it's a really good, it's like a really good automatic transmission in a car. And don't most cars these days come with automatic transmissions? Yeah.
They kind of got it sorted out.
Yeah, don't be scared of the technology, man. Just go. Yeah, so that was a total marketing pitch for Honda. Thank you for pointing that out to all of our listeners. Hey, you got it. What's this guy's name?
That's his name?
Double X Island Boy 67XX. Twice. Yeah. What does he want to know?
Hi, sir. Is this compatible with the JD jetting with a 2014 Yamaha YFZ 450R?
That's a quad, right?
It's fuel injected.
That's what it is. He put that in parentheses. Yeah, JD jetting tuners typically work with fuel injected bikes, so that's a giveaway. And YFZ 450R is a quad, which means we're dealing with someone who's half brain cells or something like that. Is not
maybe twice as many. He's got twice as many wheels.
No, I need the extra wheels to make up for. Look at the application manual, bro. I'm not the application manual. I don't know. Like how did that's. Ask the other bald dude. He'll probably sell you one. He's probably got a tune for it, and he'll take your reed valves and whatever else, and you can auction off your bike to him and get a motorcycle, or you can win a motorcycle, and then you won't have to ride that quad. So next question. Oh, I was going to read this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Senor Almani. He says, por favor, algún me explaina por qué reacciona la ruedilla delantera. Muchas gracias. What does that mean, Logan?
Please someone explain to me why the front wheel reacts. Thank you.
That's good. I'm glad somebody speaks Spanish around here. Why the front wheel reacts? Which test was that on? Was that to the was it? No, I don't think it was the Africa Twin. I think it might have been to the CRF 250L, or it may have been to our last show. Please explain to me why the front wheel reacts. I think he's talking about handling, maybe handling and steering, or maybe deflecting. And since you wrote to me in Spanish, I'm going to guess that you can't understand what I'm saying anyway, and you're just watching me because I look sexy on this podcast.
Yes.
So, yeah, that makes me feel uncomfortable, and you need to watch El YouTubo of somebody else that speak of your language or something like that. Victor, can you help? Victor, call it. Victor will take you to school on this, I'm sure. So all good. Okay. What's that? Oh, it's a long question. It gives me a chance to have some tequila.
Great DVT review on the Maxima synthetic chain guard. I have been using their multi-purpose penetrating lube and chain wax and have been really happy. My question is, do you use any lube in really sandy conditions? I kind of think the wax might be a little better than the chain guard to keep sand off the chain. When you raced the Dakar, did you use any chain lube? Thanks for everything you do.
Well,
Curtis
2
Ballard.
years I raced Dakar. My bike had shaft drive. That's right. I rode a BMW, no chain. It's one of the advantages of the BMW GS, among other things. Do you know it has a telelever suspension? My bike didn't have that. My bike had real forks. But so in the when I rode the KTM for the 2 years in Dakar, I'm pretty sure that they lube the chain at night. I should ask my mechanics, but not with anything that was super sticky. And so chain lube. It's funny. I saw some other ding dong on the internets that has a million followers or something like that. Did a chain lube comparison, and he used like cooking oil and some other. He used a lot of different things, and I was kind of surprised because this guy, he's actually contacted me to ask.
It's a Fort9 channel.
He's contacted me to ask me about stuff. Like, I didn't know who he was when he first started. He was just asking questions, kind of like this, and I didn't realize who he was, and then he was just kind of picking for information, which is good. He's doing research. He's trying to learn. And I was blown away by actually how much detail he went into on his chain lube thing. He made some kind of funny tests, where he actually put a chain on a sprocket and spun it on a rotor motor to see how much elasticity he had and stuff. And at that point,
pretty thorough.
Yeah, I mean, thorough for doing a YouTube test. You know who does really good ones is the guy who owns Best Rest Products. Yeah. He does. He does some really good ones too, and they're entertaining as well as factual. But I just want you to be very careful that these are not that scientific tests. Like, they're not doing SAE grade, tests, nor do we want them to, because that would be pretty dry and boring. So there's definitely information out there, and it kind of depends on your application. So most of the chain lubes out there, I think their primary goal is to prevent corrosion on the chain when you're using it under normal circumstances. Like the minute you ride through a mud bog, or you spin the chain down in deep sand and stuff like that, that lube is going to kind of get kind of peeled, wiped off, and a lot of times it does attract contaminants, dust, dirt, things like that. So I've used everything from like a WD-40, a water displacing kind of lube, penetrant oils and stuff, all the way to the stickiest chain lubes you can find, depending on the application. And the one thing I can tell you, and you guys know this because I make you wash the bikes, what do I tell you to do?
Do it before.
You put the lube on the chain before you wash the bike, generally when the chain is still warm.
Chain's warm.
And that way, I mean, the O-rings are designed to keep the lube that's already packed in there from coming out, which they generally do a pretty good job on. But after time, that stuff wears. You think about all the friction that O-ring gets. I would think that, when you're lubing the chain, when it's warm, there's more, it's probably easier for that lube to kind of penetrate down into that stuff. Or maybe actually it might even be better when it's cold, because then the O-rings are compressed. But we always do them when they're warm. Before we wash the bike, that way the chain lube acts as a water displacement. The lube will seal up those O-rings if there is any openings. Hopefully maybe some will creep in, and it keeps the water from going in. And then you have less corrosion. And what's the other thing I guys always tell you to do with that? I know you only remember half the things I say, but take a guess.
Ride them after?
We ride them after to dry them off, and in this case, you shoot a bunch of water into the muffler. It doesn't sit around in there, but the riding it then the water kind of blows off or kind of flies off of the chain and stuff like that, and lube typically stays on it. But no, the other thing is, don't put too much on it. Right? I'm always like, when you guys over lube them, because then the lube flies all over every place, and it doesn't matter which lube we're using. Too much lube is never a good thing, and then you get goop all over the swing arm. And I know it's Gabe that's doing that, right? No?
Fess up.
Sure? Yeah. Who's in charge? You're in charge of the lube?
Yep.
Yeah,
Mechanic.
we got to, every once in a while we have to have a little talk about lube application. So, yeah. But the Maxima stuff is good. I think that's what we've been using lately. The Maxima chain wax, yeah? Guys, what's... Yeah, we use whatever's out there.
I've been using, and I think I read this somewhere. It's a product specifically made for mining equipment.
Oh, here we go. We're going down super special.
Dude, let's rabbit hole this. So
you need to package it with a Taco Moto logo.
I'll put a logo on it. I'll just tear off the 3M. It's a 3M. I think it's a 3M product. Maybe it's DuPont. I don't know. They're two different companies. But it's a Teflon dry spray, and it is specifically made for industrial chains. And I think I read that I don't know if it's on ADV Rider or somewhere. So I got a can of it, and I'll be down if I don't find that's probably my favorite chain lube, because it comes out wet, it dries, and then it's a Teflon film. There's no wax to it. There's no oil to it. No dirt has attracted to it. Doesn't do a great job with like rust. So if you have a cheaper chain that does not have a hard finish on it, so if your chain is not gold or silver or have some sort of colored link to it, if it's black, it typically indicates it's going to be a low-end finish chain, which is not bad at all. Guys will look at their chain and they'll see some rust on the outside of the link, and they'll think, well, that's a bad chain. Not necessarily. That's just an aesthetic thing. Yeah. But this Teflon lube has not. I think I'm getting a little bit longer. I know I'm getting longer chain life. I'm running the Dirt Tricks front and rear sprockets, and so those are really reliable.
As good as you can get, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm probably going through probably half a chain less that I'm consistently using this through my own fairly unscientific methodology. No, so I think I'm getting a little better chain life.
It's funny because I just jokingly beat up on you because you started, I got, here's this thing. And we all have those things.
We all have our special thing, right?
Your favorite oil and your different stuff. And I'm intrigued by that stuff. I want to go try it. Actually, Steve Christini got me some. He had it's a mountain bike chain lube. It's called an Earth Whale. So it's like a biodegradable, really earth safe one that we've been playing around with testing. I've had some. I think it was a Bell Ray chain lube that did similar to what you were just talking about. Kind of went on kind of foamy and wet with a white coating. It had some lithium in it, but I think it also had some Teflon.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different things, and good thing is chain lube's pretty cheap. Just try different ones and see how it works. And if you find something that you like, keep using it. So if I had an oil sponsor right here, I would have cut you off right away and said that they're the only
This is the one to use.
The only one to use.
Okay, so I found it.
If you were running the DDC sprockets, hold that DDC sprocket up that's right next to you.
Okay, here you go.
Yeah, because you. Yeah. So, by the way, now that you're curious about chains and sprockets, if you want the longest lasting sprocket that I know of, run DDC. And if you email me, I will give you a discount code for a DDC sprocket. But you have to figure out how to email me. That means you're going to have to pull your car over right now when you're listening to this podcast. And it's not a podcast just yet. We're going to work on that.
Legit sponsorship right here. These guys are really been with you for a long time.
Yeah, at least 3 episodes now. But Nate's been with me for a long time. He used to help me out when he was at Dirt Tricks. But I have those on pretty much all of my bikes, and I have never worn one out. So just like you've never bent your flex borers, neither have I. I've never worn out one of those. So thanks for that, Mike, the best product spokesman, sitting one person to the right.
So have you ever seen this chain spray right here?
Hold it up. Chain Savored. I have not.
Yeah, so I have no idea if they market this to the motorsports industry, but this is more of a commercial chain lube. And so put in the comments here if you've ever used this, if you like it, if you don't like it, if you know any reason why this would not make a good motorcycle chain.
It'll probably be on Taco Mike's store tomorrow.
I'm going to put my own label on it.
Are you going to get it? Are you going to get a discount code? You're going to give Tech Talk Taco Tuesday a discount code for that chain lube.
Let's talk about that. Heck yeah.
Okay. Hey, Steve Conklin, who did the awesome Alt-Rider adventure bike guards for the Africa Twin write-up, says, shout out to Kate's Real Food Bars, another sponsor of ours. Got a variety box, and they're awesome. Great product, and the staff are so upbeat. Well, if you were eating those every morning, you'd be upbeat too. That's why I'm so upbeat, because Kate's been providing Jimmy Lewis with breakfast since she invented the bars it seems like about 10, 12 years ago. So awesome. And the discount code that you emailed me for, by the way, it went bad. So I got a new one, and I gave that to some other people that emailed me. So we're back on track with that. Yes, Patty, I'm coming down to the Baja headquarters tomorrow because I just got to go to the store and get a flat billed hat and some black socks. So it's okay, bro. I'll be there. Any other questions on that one, or did Mike cross them all out?
No?
No, you can read that one if you want. That's a good one.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, why don't you read that one there?
No.
No, don't read. I'll read that one.
Okay. Tyler Wallace. 2020 XCW versus EXC. Mapping and imitation. The only difference does the EXCW have enduro mapping?
So Curtis is talking about today. I went live on the Instagrams or Facebooks, or both of them actually, to talk about the differences between the 2020 KTM 500 EXCF and the KTM 500 XCFW. I've not ridden that one. And the Husky FE501 and the Husky FE501S. So basically, the three that I've ridden, the two Huskies and the one KTM, and the KTM is a street-only one, and just kind of talking about the differences between those bikes. And so Tyler's asking, so the difference is essentially, like he says, I can't speak to the mapping specifically because I can't look inside that ECU and tell you what's in there. But the difference is there's a slightly different, I don't know if there's a slightly different emission standard for a green sticker bike, or there's those rules are always changing, always in flux. The biggest difference is sound. There's a different sound requirement for a street legal vehicle versus a green sticker vehicle, which the dirt bike versions are. So the biggest thing you'll notice is it doesn't have that perforated screen at the very end of the muffler on the dirt bikes. And I kind of went in and talked about it. But here's where I run into a problem with your question, Tyler, and I'm going to go on a little rant here. What is Euro mapping? Like you say, does it have Euro mapping? This is like a bad word. Like Euro mapping, like it's special. Like over in Europe, they have special mapping that's better than what we have over here. And Euro mapping is not a competition map. It's a map specifically designed for whatever rules and regulations they have to pass over there. It doesn't make it, quote, better. And one of very few people who have ridden the European versions of these bikes over in Europe, you do not want to ride those bikes. Those things are so corked up. If you're getting Euro mapping, a lot of those throttles only open a certain percentage of full, kind of like what Yamaha does over here. Like, when you get your WR and it only opens up to a quarter throttle, a lot of these bikes that are, quote, Euro mapped, that's how far their throttles open up. Some of them have big, giant snorkel stuff in the intake, and they have to design that map to work with that throttle stop or that stuffer in there or a muffler that's twice as long as what you see on the bike we buy here. And whether it's Australian mapping, which is different, I'm told in some things, or, whether you get the Indian mapping, or it's just a different map. It's not special and doesn't necessarily mean it's better. Knowing this, all this Euro map stuff, I don't know where it came from or why all of a sudden it was popular. I think it was because all of a sudden it showed up on some KTM dealer tools, and they said, "Oh, Euro mapping. If we put this in, we can charge you $45 or $150, and it's going to be better."
Yes, on the XC1 and the original scan tool, dealer tool, when they would go in to program a bike that was sold, and once they put the VIN number in there, then the dealer, then the tech would be presented with a couple of different option maps. And one of them was the European off-road map. And so that is, what Jimmy's saying is exactly true. There's this great fallacy that this Euro map is like this amazing running, amazing performing fuel map for your bike. This was like a big deal for the EXC FE bikes. And a dealer could program an out-of-VIN, out-of-compliance map. So the dealer wasn't supposed to put anything into that bike other than the US EPA map. But the tool would let him put in this European off-road map. And it was better on the fueling to, and you'll jump in on this too, I'm sure, a certain percentage of the throttle, you would have better fueling specifically down low, and your EXC or FE would run better. If you knocked out the screen and you kind of open up your pipe a little bit, it would run a little better, but not through the total throttle range, just off idle, which is where those bikes seem to have the most problems. And that.
But didn't you have to, in addition to running that map, reclock your TPS?
No.
You didn't. If you didn't have to do that.
Well, I don't know if you did or didn't, because I haven't read what the spec was to load that map, but most American guys didn't. Yeah. They would usually reclock their TPS as sort of like a separate fix-all, or in addition to it, just trying to fake out and richen up that bike to improve fueling. And it does not fuel through the total throttle range. So the Euro map is not a fix for opening up a pipe or taking out reeds. The Euro map is not a fix.
It's meant to run on a bike that's sold in Europe with whatever things that they have on it. So it's not like it. And I'd just like to just end this. It's like the Euro map is not like a fix-all, cure-all. It's not the thing. And trust me,
super overrated.
Trust me, KTM is not selling a Euro map, or they're not putting a Euro map in our bike because they want to have it work the best it can for over here. Our fuel is different. In fact, I do know a little bit of background that because of the setting these bikes up, they went to a great expense, KTM did, to send over American fuel over there
into Austria to test out.
To do some testing.
Yeah,
and it's because it's different. So there's a lot of stuff that's different. The Euro map is not magic. It's not going to fix your thing. And every time I've ridden a bike, I've had to have my ECUs that I bought off of used bikes flashed back to stock. And dealers are looking at me, or people that do it for me are going, "Why do you want that?" And I go, "Because that's the way they run the best in the form that I'm running them. I'm generally running with stock mufflers with the little screen popped out of them and stuff like that." So in a very easy to ride, good running form. So you just please don't ever say Euro map to me again. Somebody's going to go in the chat room and just type it in 10 times, right,
blow
George?
It up. But let's address this really quick. So with this Euro mapping, now that used to be a thing with the XC1 dealer tool. With the XC2 tool, which came online early spring, summer, all KTM dealers are running the XC2 tool. They have closed the loophole. So if any of us have heard of VW Dieselgate, the American and the European governments take emissions incredibly seriously. KTM is no different than any other manufacturers, worried that their dealers were out there, renegade dealers were programming ECUs out of VIN. That is to say, U.S. VINs were being flashed with something other than the U.S. EPA-approved map. So KTM wisely shut the door on that. They also used that as an opportunity to upgrade the user tool, the dealer tool rather, and the new tool does not have anything. When you put in the VIN to flash a bike,
you get the map it comes
you
with.
get the map that VIN number is corresponding to. So if you're in Australia and you put in a VIN, your tool will tell you this is the map, and that's the Australian map. The US is going to be US map. So for guys who used to be able to slip a 20 to the guy in the shop when they would buy their bike on the 16 or on the 17 through 19s, or even the 12 through 16s on the XC1 tool, you could have a tech give you an out-of-compliance VIN if he was willing to stick his neck out. It's almost the equivalent of like when you'd go to smog check a car back in the day and you knew your car was dirty and it wouldn't pass.
So you'd plug it into somebody else's car.
You would plug it into somebody else's car, or you'd only slip the sniffer in just so far. There's all kinds of ways to cheat that. All these loopholes are closing, and so now there is no such thing as a Euro map option anymore on any bike that you have not already, quote, Euro flashed or have some sort of non-US EPA map. So that door is done. If you want to extra fuel any of the street legal bikes, you have to either add there are really good options. There's adding a piggyback tuner, and that might be a Dobek EJK. It could be a Dynajet Power Commander. Those are two really good options. There's a Bazaz tuner out there. You could Google that and look that one up. So there's
JD. The JD jetting.
The JD is the Dobek EJK, yes.
Yeah,
so
they're basically mostly same box.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there are good piggyback tuners out there. You can research those or email either one of us and we'll help you out with that. Or go to an aftermarket ECU like a Vortex or a Get. Is that each one of these has a set of advantages and disadvantages, but really the reality is the guys who control the emission standards of these bikes have shut all these doors down, and the window is narrowing down on what your options are.
And if you buy
the table.
And if you buy any sort of these tuners, you're essentially you're buying it because you're making your bike into a closed course competition vehicle.
Correctly said.
Yeah. So
you now have a closed, whatever use you use your bike for, you are technically an operator of a closed course competition use machine.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff like that. But the amazing thing, and nobody ever believes this, because a lot of times you say, oh, you guys never ride stock bikes. I ride these bikes stock. We test them the way that they are sold at the dealership. They're not monkeyed with, because if they are monkeyed with, then I'm not telling you how they work in the real world. And then if you go buy something that works substantially different, then I'm going to look like an idiot, and I'm not going to do that. So we test them in the way that they're sold, and then we do them in steps when we start doing things. When, like yesterday I was swapping out mufflers, and it said right on the side of the muffler that, if I'm violating a noise standard by swapping out this muffler, because the muffler does nothing to the emissions at that point. And if I was breaking a noise standard by swapping out the muffler, then I was doing something wrong. Well, I was on a runway, closed down runway, doing power runs. And then I was on a closed course where I was out riding my bike around this closed course to test to see how it works. So anyways, enough about that. Oh, and the other thing, reclocking the TPS.
Hack.
This is the big joke. It's like people say, oh, well, I'm just going to recalibrate and it's going to make it richer. Well, if you've ever played with one of these fuel tuners, which I have a lot, if you make your bike richer, you make it less responsive and it feels like it gives it more traction. And if you do that entirely through the range, that's probably not a good thing, because that's what it's going to make it's going to always think that the throttle is open more than it actually is, so it's dumping more fuel in at any given throttle position. If your bike was completely lean across the range, that might actually work, and it might be a good thing, but there's places where they adjust that, and it needs to go lean and rich and do all this different stuff. And so the places where they make it rich, you over-rich in it, you've just made your bike run like crap, and good on you. But if it's, if you play with it and it's better, good on you. So Bob used to do that all the time. I bought a couple bikes that he reclocked the damn throttle position sensor on.
And they didn't feel right.
Yeah, one of them, I remember it. And so I put it back to standard.
It also changes the ignition time.
Yeah, of course.
With a much more advanced timing.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the TPS does, in the old bikes, in old carbureted bikes, they had TPS on them. And same thing, you know, when you adjusted that, you weren't doing anything inside the carburetor. You were doing stuff
Ignition
to
only.
the ignition timing.
It's
So-
true. So when you like advance that TPS, thinking that you're feeling your bike for a pipe, you've now told your bike that I'm at 8% throttle instead of 0% throttle. And so when you get to wide open throttle, you're not at 100% throttle. You're at 92% throttle or 90% throttle. That's what the computer is giving you or thinking.
It's actually the other way, I believe. It's actually over. It's because you're telling it it's more open usually.
That's true. You are advancing.
So-
So when you get
it's
to
on-
92% throttle,
It thinks it's at 100,
it thinks
but then
you're at 100. It's got more to give you.
But a lot
it's
of
not there.
a lot of times they kind of run out, like the voltage kind of goes up and then it just stays. Just from what I've seen when I played with them, but either way,
And your field table, your ignition table are off. And I've run bikes. I've tested back-to-back bikes where we have TPS set correctly with a tuner, piggyback tuner, nice little product, adjusted correctly, and then a bike that had nothing more than a TPS. And the TPS bike was sputtery. It did not pick up good.
I've never
all kinds of it did not feel good at all. And then
Yeah.
running that back-to-back with a correctly fueled bike, the difference was astonishing.
I've
So much
never
better.
ever ridden a bike that's had the TPS reclocked that worked better than a good running stock one, or it was always something always
Something
jacked
in
up,
the
and every
range.
single time I hop on a bike that's like that, you know, it's like something's wrong with it, and then I just start going back, and it's funny that I, you know, end up finding, oh Jesus, somebody reclocked this, you know, somebody did, oh yeah, well I got the Euro map, and I, you know, and I just like, oh yeah, you got exactly, yeah, that's something wrong with it. So hey, we got a couple questions in the forum. I'm gonna kind of start blasting through these things really quick. Let's see. Mark Daniel says, not everyone grew up with a manual transmission, so learning to ride with a clutch can be overwhelming for some. Exactly. And that's the reason. And Steve Conklin, I love the DCT. There's a reason they always put it on the Gold Wing. Don't compare yourself to a Gold Wing rider, Steve. We're dirt bikers. Hey, Victor's impressed by you, Logan, with your Spanish.
Google Translate.
It's true.
Let's see. Kevin Oma, where can I find Husqvarna black handguards? I can't find them anywhere other than in white. I would
the flags, like the stock flags.
Well, I would say just Google it, or if I had a sponsor that was a plastic company, I would tell you exactly where to get it, but I don't. So let's see.
If you're talking about
Astroglide is the best lube. That's what just I was just told. Yeah. Let's get down. Victor and George are really holding their own in the forum tonight. Let's see. And Patty wants to post a picture of her racing her quad. Oh, did I make a quad joke again? Sorry.
You were bashing quads earlier. You were rolling hard on quads.
Sorry, Patty.
Lighting them up.
Hey, you know what? I'll tell you a little known secret. Ricky Brabeck raced a quad.
Back in the day.
He did it once. I'm not really sure what happened. Hey, and Chris Real, our sound and emissions expert, chimes in and says sound is 80 dBA for street, 82 dBA for green sticker off-road. This is a big change. The street emissions are less as well. The emissions for street are less as well. So that was just the quick answer to
Good to know.
my thing. That's why I always have experts sit in next to me to make me look stupid. George says, hey, Jimmy, would you read that comment about George is so cool one more time? I want to send that guy a DBT T-shirt. I think I have 4 more followers. You're really gonna do that for me, aren't you, Logan? Thanks.
Hey, did you skip the one? The best chain grease is taco grease from El Pastor Tacos.
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
I missed that
That's
one.
Victor, your buddy Victor.
Logan
one.
should get school credits for his appearance on Tech Talk Taco Tuesday.
I wish.
You wish. Aren't your teachers cool?
I'm sure his teachers are watching this right now.
Yeah, you should be telling them to watch this. Actually, how come you're not coming in here editing the videos anymore? Remember we used to do that? What, do you just go riding all the time now? You won't go riding with me. Your suspension's gone. You need to come in. I did half of the work on that Husky video. Gabe's too busy trying to light Cadillacs on fire. And he's doing pretty good, though, getting the tech talks up. Right, Gabe? So far. So if you like the tip, you know, in all honesty, when I was begging earlier and I said you should just send me money, if you send me any money, it's going to go to pay my slaves. I mean, helpers, because I believe in child labor and I think they should be paid a little bit.
Loyal followers.
Kyle Shively asks, how do I find the stock TBS setting? Well, Kyle, it's in the manual. And unless you have a tool that checks it, it's kind of a special tool. It's a little bit difficult to get exactly right. But okay. Here's, you know how I pre-mix oil, like with the wrist into the gas tank. So I've actually been able to take TPSs that were completely jacked up, and the reason I knew this is I actually had one that got whacked by a stick. A stick went up and hit it, and knocked it awry, and I couldn't figure out why the bike. I knew something funny happened, but the bike, and so we actually just loosened it, and you can actually like just hear the idle change as you move it, and you can almost, you're not going to be perfect, but you can get it close, because this one was knocked all the way to the stop.
It got you rideable. You got back on the trail. So
not only just get it to where it seemed like it was idling good, then you hold the throttle steady at like maybe let's say 2,000, 2,500 RPM, and then you can adjust it. You can hear it change the thing. So
sure.
You can do it that way if you're really a hack in an emergency situation.
Not advisable. Emergency.
No, in emergency situation and stuff like that. But generally, you should get the tool to do it. There's you can find them. There's guys that'll sell you the plugs and the resistors, and hook it up to a 9-volt battery. If you do it wrong, maybe your bike will catch on fire. Right, Gabe? We never caught the bike on fire.
So a really easy way, there's a couple of guys on the interwebs who will sell you a tool, and it's essentially an in-series plug. It's got the male and the female TPS plug, and then it's got a set of leads, pigtails that come out, and you can hook if you have a good DVOM, a meter, you can hook it to that with the key on. So power on, it's providing 5 volts. So your ECU is providing a constant 5 volts. There are guys who will sell you a little 9-volt battery-operated step-down transformer that'll kick you 5 volts clean through the
Bob actually
TPS.
gave me one. I believe you gave me one. Yeah, I have it. Yeah, I have that. And then I also bought one off the internet that actually had the proper plugs to check key and fuel injection systems.
Yeah. So you can make these harnesses. You can buy them. I don't necessarily advocate for using one of those 9-volt step-down converters to 5. I think that's probably overkill, considering your ECU is a step-down transformer taking 12 to 5 to power the TPS. So really, what you just need to do is make sure that you're following the manual spec, and then measuring your voltage, watching your meter as you turn that, and aligning that TPS to the right value.
And then the trick is tightening it
down, because when you do, it's going to click. It is not.
It takes a little bit of fidgeting to get right.
It takes a deft hand to get the surgery done. The other thing, and I don't really recommend this version, but I've done it. It's where you take a safety pin, stick pin, and you stick it through the insulation of the wire to get to the copper, and you stick that through on the KTM. I think it's the green and the black. I'd have to look it up. But you pierce those 2 wires, your alligator clip to the pin, and then you run that to your meter, and you can check it that way. Again, I don't recommend that. That's kind of a hacky way. You can tape over the holes, but you're going to leave holes in that copper.
Well, around here we have rats that go up and eat the wire shielding anyway, so it doesn't matter if you
just
pierced
touch it straight on.
Right, Logan?
Yep.
So, okay. I think we've kind of filled the gap of questions. We're all good? Or there's something else that we wanted to go over? We didn't have a whole nother page, did we?
No.
No way. Oh yeah. Hold on a second. I got a letter. I got a letter from Jammin' Jones. Jammin' Jones says, he didn't even address me personally. He says, congratulations. We've noticed that you have a significant amount of social media followers. How would you like to leverage your social media fan base and earn a valuable rewards like Alpine Stars Tech 10 boots and Garmin blah, 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 and free BRAP coins? Huh? BRAP coins? Do those make my bike go fast? Yeah. Use the link below to sign up to what the hell? Jammin' Jones? Yeah. Hey, buddy. We've got a lot of social media following and stuff, and they actually trust in us to give them good, solid, honest advice, not become some part of your multi-level marketing scheme where we can earn BRAP coins. So yeah. Yeah, good on you. Pace, Curtis Kelly says, I told you he asked another one. No, wait. John Milando.
Yeah.
Oh, my son and I bought 2 of these bikes. He's talking about the KTM and the Husky. My son orange, I went white. I have enjoyed so much the time with my son. However, there's a huge difference between the 2 bikes. Yes. No. Yes. No. I don't know. I've been riding them all week. There's
no power difference. If you're running a 501 and a 500, there's no power difference.
Nope. If you're, street to street and dirt to dirt, no difference.
Yeah, no difference.
There's a slight difference in between the street and the street and the dirt. Actually, go watch the little videos I did. That's on there on Dirt Bike Test Facebook story or YouTube story or whatever story. Where do you get stories at?
Could you do like a 60-second summary? Just maybe like hit some of the data points, like the high points of that.
They're the same. The biggest difference between the bikes is you want to guess? Come on.
No, when you say
round the horn. The biggest difference between these 2 bikes.
XCFW and then the EXC.
Between the KTM and the Husky.
Okay, apples to apples. So street to street, 500, 501 to 500.
Yeah, what's the biggest difference? Anybody
suspension,
round the horn? The color. The color and the shape of the plastics is the biggest difference.
True. Subframe, suspension.
Everybody's asking about the subframe and the suspension and all this stuff like that. It's amazing how similarly they work. There's some subtle differences, and I explained that. I kind of went into detail on those stories that I did about how the Husky's a little more plush initially, and it may have a little bit different bottoming character. Not going to say it's stiffer or softer in the bottoming. The PDS tends to ride a little bit different. I actually talked to some really sharp suspension people about it today. And by the way, 100% certain, the forks have very, very different valving in the 500 and the 501. Because, you have a linkage on the rear of one and a PDS on the rear of the other. It puts different weight forces on the front. And I was surprised because I told him, I said, Jimmy says that the valving inside those things are the same. And he's like, no, they're not. But they were. I mean, they're different. They're much different. But the way I felt like they were, because they act the same. The bikes act.
They compensate the same, so the final feel is very similar.
The bikes act super similar. And if you, I think certain people could feel certain differences and stuff. Like the Husky is. The power is just a little bit more muted. It's like the airbox is a little more sealed up, so it doesn't. The KTM's a little more lively. The KTM weighs a pound more, but I feel like it acts 2 pounds lighter.
Interesting. Okay.
If anything, so there's lots of little subtleties between the bikes. And
do you think that the KTM is still being marketed to the racer, and then the Husky is sort of going towards the gentleman Sunday rider?
I've heard that. I've heard that on both on the outside and on the inside, and I think they might want to kind of go with those kind of directions, but I don't see it. For me, if I was riding faster across the desert and I wasn't doing any sort of extreme technical stuff, and by extreme I mean like stuff where your linkage would hang up and stuff,
like very hard enduro type stuff,
I would say the Husky. But the more I'm going slower single track, I'd like the KTM, but the Husky, the power works better for the tighter technical stuff. And so the difference between the Magura and the Brembo components, I like certain things about each of them. It's at the
end of the day, there's these subtle differences are enough to push you one way or the other.
Not really.
It's toss up.
I would love to do a test where I could blindfold people, plop them on the bike, have them ride it around, and come back and tell me, okay, which one was that?
Yeah,
or did you just ride the same bike twice?
Yeah.
Like tires, switching out tires makes a bigger difference than anything between those 2 bikes, in my opinion.
It's almost the number one change that any rider should make to their bike.
Yeah, tires that you like, or and literally for some reason both of our bikes came with the bars pretty far rolled back. And when I rolled the bars forward I first did it on the Husky. I rolled the bars back forward, and all of a sudden I really liked that bike so much better than the other one. And then I'm like, oh, damn, the bars are rolled back on this one. And so I rolled them forward, and then I liked the other one just the same. So little changes like that. And it affected how the suspension worked to a certain extent, because I was sitting farther back on the bike, and especially on the Husky, It did not like I didn't notice it as much on the KTM, but on the Husky I noticed it more. But that's how picky
Now,
you can be.
Do you have a test XCFW out there? You do, yeah?
Yes. Oh wait, no, I have not.
You've not ridden that
No,
one,
I have to give the EXCF back first before I can get the XCFW.
You have to trade them out. They're not going to let you have them both at the same time.
Well, there's not that many of them to go around. They're selling like hotcakes, so
They're starting to show up.
They don't need us media guys to be telling everybody how good they are.
Okay.
So that's why you should go buy the Honda 450L, CRF 450L.
Go red.
Yeah, that's just why
They
not.
won Dakar. Why not?
Kind of. So
Ricky
okay.
won Dakar.
Ricky races quad, so I'm not going to talk to him anymore. Poor Ricky. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, we're gonna have to. Yeah, I'm going to Baja headquarters. That's Cameron Steele's shop down in San Clemente tomorrow night. If you want to go, there's posts all over internets, the Facebooks and stuff on the party they're having for Ricky and Casey. It should be off the hook. I'm hoping to do something pretty cool down there. If you want to learn a little bit about what doing a rally is like, because nobody really understands, and it should be pretty fun. And a couple other quick notes of business. I need to apologize to George because I got him extra Facebook followers, and he wants me to say again how much people like him on the show. But we're at 39 people an hour and a half into this show. So that's not too bad, Mike, even though you are the only show host that's been complained about.
Good. Thank you.
Besides me. So, okay.
Is that why I'm back? Because you
right.
like that?
Hey, Logan, if you don't get extra school credits for doing this show, have your teachers come and talk to me. I can probably get you kicked out of school, but I know a good homeschooling program we can put you into. And let's see. I think that's about it. Your dad's just shaking his head. He's like, don't listen to him. But yeah, if you want to come over and edit some of these videos, that'd be awesome, and then we can get them up here quicker. Thank you, all you guys, for watching live. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks again. Leave comments and questions you have down in the thing down below, and we'll try to get to those, and then you can watch them the next week's episode. Eventually, we're going to get these up on the podcast. We're going to get our podcast thing going again, but if you sent me $20 to my email address via whatever pay money service that we get, beggar.com, that money's going straight to Gabe, and he'll start working on those podcasts immediately because he needs gas. So Logan, have Jimmy come speak at your school. No, you don't want me to do that. So all right, we talked about dirt bikes and dirt bike tests. Hey, buy a t-shirt, by the way, and I'll ship them out like in a month or two. Any other questions? You guys good? You have any questions, Logan? How'd you do this weekend in your race?
I think fine.
Okay. But you didn't win.
No.
But you didn't crash.
Yes, I did.
Uh-oh. Ooh.
But you're here. You don't look injured.
No.
No, 125s crash harder, right?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, wait, he did a big cartwheel a couple weeks ago, too, didn't he? Yeah. Okay, we need to do some riding lessons and stuff like that. No more crashing.
I know a guy.
But if you're not happy with anything other than first place, we got to work on that. Yeah, we got to either you got to be a racer, or you're going to end up being like a journalist like me, where second place is okay. So, okay, with that, we're going to sign off. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you out in the trail.
Peace
Cheers.
out. Go get some adventure.